This is the CPCU Champion Hour. We're talking about how our networks within the society have helped us professionally, and we have another new designee interview. Let's roll. Here we go.
We're talking about a lot of these things. We're talking about how to mentor.
File that under only the best decisions are made after midnight.
Right. That's right.
Your network is your net worth. Connect with someone.
Happy holidays!
Yay!
through the magic of television, we're recording this before the holidays, but this is the holiday version or episode of the CPCU Champion Hour. So without further ado, like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Please help us share this information out there with everyone in the insurance marketplace and the insurance industry. And we are a presentation of the CPCU Society. So the society, the institutes, and the volunteers all come together to create this fantastic program. What's your favorite part of the holidays, Precious? Like, is it family? Is it food? Is it presents? What's your favorite part?
All the above. No, I can't.
Yeah.
Well, for us, I think it's really kind of that measuring stick. I enjoy looking at pictures of like holidays past, seeing how much the kids have grown, how gray I get, all these things, and just really kind of that comparing and contrasting, how far we've come. So yeah, we are very, we stick to our traditions around here. So the food that we prepare, the day we go look at lights, we kind of have like a calendar. And so I'm just glad that I still have kids that get into the spirit, that enjoy this thing, that aren't too cool to hang out with mom. So counting that down as long as that lasts.
We have a 12-year-old who is holding on for dear life the Christmas spirit, or at least the child version of Christmas spirit is still with her. So I'm right there with you. What about you, Heather?
I have always loved Christmas lights, and I will never forget as a kid my Christmas tree sitting in a corner where, we had a house that was built in the 70s, but like it had mirrors behind it, and like all the lights would reflect off of that. And I still today love just like laying underneath that Christmas tree and watching the lights reflect off, because I now have like a big picture window in my living room where I can put a Christmas tree up and people can see it from outside. And it's just one of those things, this kid's just watching those lights reflect off things, driving around and seeing people, because my neighborhood, people do their lights up on their house and everything. And that's just that magical part that takes me back to being a kid all over again. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. My kids love driving around, looking at displays and, the houses that go all out and, deck it out with lights and stuff like that. So they definitely love that part about it. So I can see that. We have a special tradition in my house. My wife started this a number of years ago when the kids were really young. We do almost kind of like an advent calendar, although we're not really kind of, practicing as far as that religion goes, but we do 24 days of activities basically. And so she creates a 24-day calendar of all these cool things like making ornaments. And tonight we had a hot chocolate bar where my hot chocolate was piled high with whipped cream and marshmallows and chocolate sauce and candy cane cookies. It was absolutely fantastic. In fact, I'm pretty sure I'm going to need an insulin shot sometime after we're done filming. But the kids look forward to it. We look forward to it because we get to also have fun and kind of like make up some fun things to do around the holidays. And it's like across the board. It's like activities and giving back and all kinds of fun stuff. So yeah, that's definitely what I look forward to. And on that note, what's interesting is for our first segment of the evening, we have a very, very special year-end / holiday themed Insurance News Minute.
It's that time of year, Matt, Precious, where we think about the things that are really important to us. The season of thankfulness starts, around Thanksgiving, and then it rolls through the end of the year. And capturing that spirit throughout the year a lot of times is difficult, but it brings us back to a moment of remembrance, especially in this month of the year. Families get together, people get together. And taking that back to CPCU, it's that time of year where you start thanking volunteers for all of the hard work that they have put in throughout the year. And I know that that's a chapter tradition where I'm at, that we encourage all of our directors and our committee chairs to reach out and send notes of thanks. We used to do it the old-fashioned way where it was the handwritten piece of it. And I'm trying to push them in that direction again, just because there's a nice touch to getting a handwritten note even today. But also just making sure that even their leadership and their organizations realize what an impactful person that they have been to our particular chapter, helps them to, make the case for that business buy-in of, I've done some great things to develop as a leader in the role that I'm doing. And oh, by the way, here's what I've done. And we personalize those notes that we send out to our committee members to really help them to see their value as part of the chapter. I don't know if either one of your chapters or if you've been involved in those types of activities. I know that, sometimes the interest groups do these types of things as well, because we know that it takes an army and a village in some places as well to build what it is to make your chapter special.
What do you guys do down in Dallas?
So we have an end of the year board holiday dinner. Not bored like boring, but like board of directors, to be clear. It's like great to have a boring dinner where we gather in that same vein, to kind of thank and to celebrate, share successes. So this is separate from our planning meeting, to be clear, so this is more about, this is that team building. This is a labor of love for all of us. We're volunteer leaders. We don't derive pay, for what we do. And so, just like in the holiday sense of, I enjoy hosting because the feedback from the people, being able to love on the people that I care about in that way. And really that's what we're doing on the chapter level is we're thanking and acknowledging the sacrifice, because they could have been spending that time anywhere, their work life, their home life, or, a plethora of other things that compete for our attention. So really just, telling them that you're seen, you're valued, and you're appreciated. So yeah, we normally have a dinner. That's one of those things that we carve out that time and space and budget, because we go somewhere nice and just really enjoy and show that appreciation.
Yeah, we do something similar. It's not it's not like a fully kind of like done up dinner or anything like that. We typically do a happy hour, and there's some kind of activity that goes along with it, like a Secret Santa, or we give out like door prizes or something like that. One thing that we wanted to do, and COVID kind of put the kibosh on it, was an ugly sweater contest with prizes, with the leadership, and seeing who came up with the funniest ugly sweater and giving them a little swag or gift card or something like that to go with the Christmas spirit, and also that handwritten thank you that goes along with it for all of the hard work. So I love all of those ideas. Is there anything else you guys do, Heather? Like, do you guys get together at all, or is that something that you typically reserve for a different time of the year?
No, we actually do have a little happy hour kind of thing planned next Tuesday for all of our board of directors, and it's always very well attended. We go to one of the craft breweries here in town because there's quite a few of those, and just spend some good quality time having some fun talking and just enjoying getting to know each other. And I know that that networking piece of this is what we're going to be talking about tonight. And I think that the holiday celebration kind of takes us right into our next discussion.
That is a dynamite lead in. We didn't discuss this pre-production, so Heather gets a gold star for the evening. We have a networking and network building trivia question of the week. So our trivia question this week, and full disclosure, we do not have a winner to announce this week because the newest version or the newest episode of the show is dropping tomorrow as of the date of this filming. So we will have another one in the next episode to announce. But so from that standpoint, we do have a trivia question associated with our new designee interview and the topic that we're going to be discussing afterward. And it has to do with networking. And the question has to do with what percentage of positions, meaning jobs or roles, are filled as a result of networking activities versus, say, the typical, like, just kind of, spray and pray in terms of sending resumes, thousands of resumes out into the world to see if any of them kind of hit. What percentage of positions are actually filled? And I'm going to go closest to. I'm not going to give you options. You have an option of 0 to 100. You can do your own research. I could tell you the source that I got this from, but it's more fun this way because it also randomizes the results. And to participate in the trivia, always remember to put your answers down in the comments below. And while you're there, make sure to like this video to help us with the algorithm, and also subscribe and hit the notification bell so that next time an episode comes out, you get notified and you can play trivia and hopefully win some swag. So with that is the trivia question of the week. And let me bring everyone back here because that leads us right into basically our interview. And so, Heather, you had the pleasure of interviewing Heidi Brown. Do you have any comments as a lead-in before we get into that interview?
No, I would just say Heidi's energy is amazing because she is so very excited to be engaged with the CPCU Society, and I can tell you she had an amazing experience at Interest this year. She feels so connected to what the society is because of her attendance at that event, and she's connected up with the claims interest group already because she's in the claims world. So that makes me super excited too. And it's just it was just so good to hear from her perspective, somebody new coming in. Some of us have been around for a little while. Some of us have been around for an even longer while. The energy is there for, and that passion, that hunger for what can I do next? How can I be a part of something next? And that was just, it was great to interview her, great to spend some time with her and just talk about her overall CPCU experience so far.
Love it. All right, everyone. Check out the interview with Heidi Brown, new designee.
All right, CPCU Champion Hour, new designee interview here this evening. We are talking with Heidi Brown. It's just me tonight interviewing Heidi, and just wanted to kick it over to you, Heidi, so that you can introduce yourself to all of our audience out there.
Hello, my name's Heidi Brown. I work at USAA. Just got my new designee last November, which was 2020. And let's see, I work at USAA as a claims adjuster, and I've been with USAA for over 11 years now. And I've enjoyed my time in claims, and the CPCU, I believe, has helped me grow as a claims adjuster and has given me the professional development I need to continue to move up the corporate ladder.
Absolutely, Heidi. That's a great plug for all of that long journey that you were on. So my first question for you is, what was it like to complete your CPCU in this bubble, this like pandemic that we've been living in? Because most of our new designees this year ended up, they lived in a world that I didn't live in when I got my designation, and certainly not those who got their designation, 20 years ago at all. So what was that like to complete your designation during the pandemic?
Well, I was lucky. I only had one last class to take. I'd done all my classes except for the CPCU 540. And
the beast.
I have one for last, not because I'm not good at math. It's just I knew that was probably going to be the one I was going to struggle with the most. And I will say that, yes, trying to learn the material and do it in the 2020 pandemic era was a little bit more challenging because there weren't any focus groups to go to. There wasn't someone to hold my hand. I finally ended up taking a side course that went with, because all the other courses I took, all I did was I got the book from the institutes, and I used the QuizMe app, the Smart QuizMe app. Mm-hmm. And between just the modules that came with this, not any of the study guides, but just the testing that came with the actual text and the Smart QuizMe app, 99% of the time I was able to fly through the test once I've said, okay. Once I got through the Smart QuizMe app and I was able to get between 90-95% of all the questions right, that's when I scheduled myself to take the test, because I knew I knew the material. And then, so the CPCU 540, though, changed from one to the other just as the pandemic hit. And so the Smart QuizMe app kept on asking me, did I want to, which set of questions did I want to quiz off of? And I really wasn't 100% sure what was going to be on the test and what wasn't. So I was trying to do all of the questions, both new and old, and I ended up confusing myself. So that is the only one that I actually used another provider to help me go through the questions and the material, just to make sure that I understood which formulas were the most important to memorize and which one were good to know, but just know that wasn't what the main test was going to be over.
And they always say, like, there's 540 people and then there's 530 people. And I was definitely one of those 530 people because I love the law and the legal aspect of everything. And I failed 540 the first time I took it, and, just by the skin of my teeth. And I was like, you know what? I just got to knuckle down. I use Big Daddy University. I know that a lot of people use various study tools, but that one just opened up everything for me. And when I walked in the next time, I just knew, like, I was ready to go the second time that I took that test. But as far as like your connections that you've made so far as a new designee, obviously we know the big ones at Into Risk, but what has it been like to make those connections as a new designee in the past year or so?
Well, I haven't haven't made as many connections locally as I would like to, just because as a person in claims, being on the phone, I will the good news is that almost all of our meetings are online. But the problem about that is that if you get stuck on a call, you miss the, I don't know that I've been told that, oh yeah, you can join the meeting anytime, but I feel funny joining the meeting 20, 30 minutes into it, just because I was just on a call helping somebody with their claim. And then that call blended into the time period that the meeting was. I'm just not very good at joining meetings late. I'm either one of the first ones to join, or I'm like, I'll catch the notes later on what I missed.
Just know that there's a lot of grace that happens with that. Everybody gets that we're living in this world where, life has to be super flexible. So if you ever joined anything that I was hosting or handling at all late, like I would just be like, hey Heidi, how you doing? And hope you're doing great today, because we all get that. We all run in that meeting culture too as well. But you're also a frontline claims person, so you're helping customers all day long in your day job, and fitting those kinds of things in, I know, can sometimes be a challenge. I used to work in the claims world, so I know what that's like. But I would say another thing that I would ask you about, have you been able to connect at all with like your local chapter in your area?
Well, the good thing about the Alamo area chapter here in the San Antonio area is that there's a lot of USAA employees in the Alamo area chapter. And we're very, there's a lot of intercompany network where they're like, oh, you've got the CPCU too. And it was, and so we all know we're all part of the Alamo area. And so I know a few people in the Alamo area that don't work at USAA. Majority of the people that I know do work at USAA. So when you work for a big company, it kind of sort of, it's hard sometimes to, because you're just like, oh, okay, you're meeting someone new. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute, you work at USAA too. They work for USAA. And halfway through the conversation, you're like, oh, I thought I was meeting somebody new, and I am, but it's still.
Well, I work for one of the big companies too, so I get that. Like it's overwhelming, like the people that you can meet that you never knew worked in the same office location as you back when we were in the offices and everything. But that's part of the unique part of the chapter experience. Like it actually brings people inside of companies closer together, because they don't really have connections, because somebody over here might work in technology and somebody might work in underwriting and somebody might work in claims, and they may never interact with each other at all. But the chapter really brings people together from all walks of the insurance company. But my next question for you was going to be obviously the big one. What were some of the things that stood out to you about your InterRisk experience?
It was the most enjoyable business conference I have ever been to, ever. It didn't hurt that it was on Walt Disney property.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
just to say that, Disney magic has, there's a little bit of a fairy Tinkerbell dust just over all Disney properties. So, you can't beat the food at the Coronado Springs Resort. I mean, that we won't talk about that I had to go off my diet to all of the food at the Coronado Springs Resort. It was so enjoyable, but the people, the people the conference that I met, the people just around the resort that I met, I got in Wednesday afternoon. And so just as we were just walking around the resort, just people would come up to you and say, hi, how are you doing? Where are you from? And found out that they were at the conference too. And it was just very, very relaxing, very encouraging to meet other people who just want to know more about you and allowed you to get to know more about them, regardless of whether it was business related or just what are your hobbies? What things do you like? They were interested in who I was, not why I was there.
So I hear from you that you felt a really good, great sense of community when you went to the conference, and it was more than just, hey, I'm here to get my big award for all the hard work that I had. So I think you called out there something that is incredibly important to the CPCU Society, and that is that sense of connection that we can establish with each other through networking, and the fact that I think it's often called, like, and this is really old phrasing, but it's often called like the biggest insurance phone book that you would ever have. But now you have like 15,000 people who could be on speed dial for you at any moment. If you decided at some point, hey, I want to explore and do something a little bit different, and I want to learn about it. And the CPCU Society, I think, offers you those opportunities to be able to do that. So I guess my next question, and it'll probably end up being almost my last question with you, would be, what's next for you? What's your plan next, as far as your membership, or joining an interest group, or are you interested in volunteering at all? What would you like to do next with your CPCU?
So, I know I want to go back and fill in, because I didn't do some of the stepping stones, like the associate in claims, the AI. There's a lot of other digits that I can go back and
get those letters.
So I'm thinking about going back in and filling in some of those letters. Absolutely want to do more with the volunteering opportunities with the Alamo area chapter. I think volunteering is the best way to give back to the community and to give, to help others that need insurance expertise. And I don't know how many times someone will come up to me and they'll go, "You're in insurance. What does this mean?" And well, even though that's not my area of expertise, because I studied in the CPCU, I
know somebody.
Not an expert, but I have enough knowledge to give you the information that you need to be able to look at the right direction for answering your question.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that I have that basic knowledge across the board, pretty much everything, just because it's, you never know where the future's what the future's going to hold, or when somebody's going to cross train or help out another area. And the fact that you already have a basic knowledge of something, it's going to make it a whole lot easier to get the other information and to be successful in what needs to be done.
So we asked 2 questions of all of our guests on the show. What are you reading or studying, or maybe even if you're not a reader, binge watching right now on television? These are just totally fun questions that we like to ask everyone who comes on the CPCU Champion Hour.
Right. So I'm going back and reading the How to Make Friends and Influence People, because I feel like a classic in the business world. There's a reason why it has so many additions and updated, just because it is a classic of am I communicating clearly, and how am I talking to others, and making sure that that I am, as far as when I'm going through negotiations and things like that in the claims, because all claims is one big negotiation, is refreshing my negotiation techniques and things like that. That's my business. But then I watched Denis Villeneuve's 2021 version of Dune, and it reminded me why I loved that book series so much. And so now I've gone back and I've read the first 3 books, and I'm on hold for the 4th book again in the series. So
that's awesome. And then the last question that we ask all of our Champion Hour champions that come here is, if a movie was made about your life, what genre would it be, and who would play you in the film?
oh goodness. It would have to be something lighthearted. So I would have to say a comedy of some sort. Just because life just seems to be a comedy of errors sometimes. And I know I look nothing like her, but I wish Sandra Bullock, because Sandra Bullock has the best comedic timing of all time. I think that she would actually be able to study my life and find all the funny parts and make the funny parts even funnier, because she's just that good of an actress.
Well, thank you so much, Heidi, for being our Champion Hour guest today. And we so appreciate you. We encourage you. We are behind you 100%. But I'll tell you, what's great about the Champion Hour is you can watch it at your leisure. You don't have to worry about that claims phone ringing while you're doing it. So you can always engage in the show and be a part of it. And congratulations once again for completing your designation. That's a big deal. Like, you did one of the big deal things with your life right now. There's a very small percentage of the insurance community that actually completes the CPCU designation. And we wish you all the very best of luck as you continue to string out those letters behind your name, because that's a super fun thing to do as well. And a pro tip, there's one test that you can take, and then you have another set of letters behind your name. So I think it's one of the AINS's tests. And I did that like right after my CPCU and got to be able to add in one other. And it's a super simple test. Like, you could pass it with flying colors. So I would definitely say you are well on your way to being a leader within the society, and stay engaged. Stay plugged in, because we need our new designees to lead the way, especially with all the new membership options that are out there for people to be able to get involved with the society. So thank you once again. We so appreciate everything that you're doing as a CPCU, and keep rocking it on.
I appreciate you for having me.
All right. Thank you.
All right, that was a fantastic interview. The first thing and the biggest thing I think you highlighted, Heather, was talking about the experience that Heidi had at InterRisk. Just talking about kind of like the network and the relationship building aspect of things. What was funny was she said that of any of the business conferences she had been to, it was like literally the best, like most inviting, conference that she had been to. What also kind of like popped out at you in terms of, her talking about the event and then her experience there?
She truly enjoyed, like, she loved the location. I think location
yeah.
makes a big deal. But she really felt like that she was part of something bigger than herself stepping in. And I heard that underneath everything else that she was saying. Heidi's been in insurance for quite a while. She's done some totally different things with an insurance company. And now she's moved into this claims world. So she lives in that fast-paced world of go, go, go. I'm dealing with customers all day long. But for her I think it helped her as well to like broaden that perspective of I have no narrow focus now. She has places to go and things to do still in the industry.
Yeah, no, that definitely, I got that feel too. The almost kind of like the belonging, right? Like aspect of it, or the having that place within that kind of like bigger, organization, or that bigger kind of like movement, I guess, if you want to call it too. So I want to put you on the stage, Precious, because you are the person in our intro who's talking about your network and it being your net worth. I don't know. I don't know who said that first. Hopefully you minted it, and then I have to give you a nickel every single time that I use the phrase. But so from your standpoint, how much does your network mean to you in terms of just, the doors that it opens up for you?
Of course. I honestly think that the beauty in having a wide, diverse network is that you get to um, decide what you want your name to be synonymous with. So when you are very intentional about curating and crafting your brand, then you get to share and kind of put out there, these are the things that I want to be considered for. These are the conversations that I would love for my name to come up in, and that big ask to your network, like, hey, can you help share this? Can you help again, make an introduction, open a door, help me connect with someone. And you would be surprised, as big of an industry as it is, we're all very interconnected. Insurance is all about relationships. And so if you put your best face forward, and then also, utilizing these social media platforms. So I'm very active on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn also gives people an opportunity to just be on posts and reshares. I write articles and content, and Heather is amazing in that space too. And when you put out that sort of content, people can hear your voice in your writing. I'm a firm believer of that. And the more they hear your voice, the more relatable you become. So more so than a string of designations or a position or a resume, now you're relatable. And so when they're problem solving, or when they want to reach out and kind of get, a different perspective, they're like, hey, this person just recently shared or posted that they were involved in this initiative, or whatever the case is. That's somebody that I want to bring in, maybe on this next project, company, or whatever the case is. So building the network is one thing, but also being in communication, giving them a chance to, invite them in like an open house and say, this is what I do well at. These are areas where I'm looking to grow, and these are the opportunities I'm looking to get involved in.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I love that. And I love that idea of being able to kind of almost like, craft your place, or craft your kind of like, corner of the world, so to speak, also in terms of, how you build out that network. I love that I think a lot of people sometimes get caught in this idea that, like, the network finds them, right? Like that the connections find them. And that's not true at all. Like, maybe at first, because you just don't know what you're doing. But once you start to get a hang of it, you really start to figure out, like, my mentor used to use the phrase, it's completely outdated, but so when cell phones first came out, T-Mobile had a program, or a plan called the FAB Five. Again, we don't get paid for any of this. Pick whatever cell phone carrier you want. But it was the 5 people that you could call unlimited, right, on your cellular phone. And so he always used to liken that to the people that were closest to him in his network, right? Like who are the sum total of the 5 people that are closest to you professionally. And that rings true in terms of, I have personally experienced that, where there's definitely been some people in my professional network that I wouldn't say were bad people or bad influences. It's just in terms of building out the network and kind of the brand and the direction that you're moving in. Sometimes, like, maybe that person's just a friend. Maybe they're not necessarily a very close professional connection, which is completely okay. It doesn't mean that you end up abandoning them. It just means that you really take a personal, some personal intent as to the people that are, directly connected to as far as your professional network. Let me kick it to you, Heather. Let's talk about the society specifically, and some of the doors it's opened up, or some of the opportunities that it's afforded us as a result of being able to kind of build that network out and associate with like-minded people within the industry who aren't just kind of ticket punchers, that are people that are movers and shakers and doing things. Give us an anecdote. How has your relationship building activity within the society really helped you professionally?
Oh, wow. There's a lot of ways I can go with that, Matt, for sure, because I feel like that I'm constantly relying on people who are within my society network. I did a reach out just here recently for my students in my class with Illinois Wesleyan, and I gave them a group research project where they had to do something creative, and it was, a digital interview, or you create a TikTok video series or an Instagram story or a Facebook page or something of that nature. And talk about an insurance topic with someone who has that experience. And they were like, the eyes got wide and they got really worried. I was like, don't have a worry at all. I have this gigantic list of people that you can contact. And immediate reach out, and everybody responded back with, absolutely, I'm 100% in, because they knew that this was a great opportunity to support students. And of course, everyone who's listening to this right now, professor is repeating that same thing next semester. So get ready. You're probably going to be asked again to be able to do something like this. And I do know that they were able to reach some. But what was amazing to me is, because I put the challenge out in front of them, I had some of them who stepped outside of our class and went to some of their classmates and friends. And they said, hey, I know your mom or dad works in insurance. Can you help me out and get me somebody? And those people were CPCUs themselves as well, which was super exciting. So there's that small world piece to this. And then, of course, I have my professorship right now because of someone in my chapter. He reached out and he said, hey, they're looking for someone at Wesleyan. I know you've got your master's now. This is a great opportunity. And would you like to take it? And here's his name. Here, I'll let him know to reach out to you. And that road was opened for me to something that I have dreamed about my entire life, was teaching in college. And I got that because of a connection with CPCU. So definitely that network is there for you all the time.
Now, inside baseball, do you give extra credit to your students for subbing and liking the channel and CPCU Champion Hour?
Yes, for sure.
Yes. Which is a reminder: like, comment, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Let's go.
I hit them all up as well about their society membership. I was like, if you don't do this, this is my pitch, people. You need to do this. This will be a network of people you cannot imagine after you get out of college. So.
Well, hello, Professor Blevins students. We appreciate your viewership. Thank you very much for tuning in. All right. Moving along. Precious, what's a specific example of how your CPCU Society networking has positively impacted your life professionally?
Yeah, I don't even know where to begin. One of the things that I really enjoy about being part of this community, part of this family, is the diversity feature of it, that we hail from all areas, all corners of the industry. And so oftentimes when you talk to people about their professional affiliations, we tend to use the words or instead of and, right? Like, what banner do you stand under? Well, I'm a broker, so I tend to lean towards some of the organizations that are more sales-centric or broker-centric. But just like with social media, just like with any of our networking, applying that litmus test, because if you're just in an echo chamber and everyone does the same thing, works at the same company, has the exact same experience, then you're really not leveraging, all the opportunity that's on the table. And so what I love about, especially the Dallas chapter, humble brag, is with our chapter, we have a lot of involvement from, like, ERMI is based out of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so they have a very big seat at our table every time we have an event. They were one of our corporate sponsors for iDay. ISO has a presence here in this area. And so you get to sit with, not just claims, not just underwriting or agent broker, but like legs and regs are here. So everybody's here, and so it really gives you that opportunity to build that relationship and kind of peek over the curtain a little bit and be like, hey, what do you guys do? Like, what does that even look like on a day to day?
Yeah.
What is that about? How does that work? And you get to have these, no regret conversations. Like, it's a win-win, because people know when they work in organizations or roles that aren't typical. And the fact that everyone is an open book, it's like, sure, let's talk, let's sit next to each other, next meeting, if that's something you're interested in, I can let you know when openings come up. To your trivia question, I really think, again, this is my assumption here, is that depending on the level of employment, right? Especially when we start getting into some of the higher end things, these become more tap on the shoulder than encouraged to apply. So it's almost like the public entity stuff that you work in. There's these RFPs, right? Where we can't guarantee you the job, but we can let you know that there's something that you might want to throw your hat in the ring because it's right up your alley. Or back to the communicating to people, not just what you do, but how you want to grow. I just made a connection amongst CPCUs earlier this week where I have a colleague of mine who's interested in getting into the international space. And I'm like, let me plug you in with someone with 3IG. Duh. Like, they're, this is what they live for, so that even though the person's not currently working in that space. So again, shout out to the interest groups. These are also amazing opportunities beyond the chapter level to connect with someone where you have some common ground. We're CPCUs. And to explain to someone, hey, if you want to bridge between here and there, especially in an environment where our talent pool, there's more of a focus right now on potential than experience. And that's a big shift in our industry. And so even though you may not have the years of experience under your belt in this certain area, what a lot of employers are really focused on right now is what is your proven ability to acclimate and to learn this info. And so when you can kind of put your best foot forward and say, I completed my CPCU, so that demonstrates my ability to learn, a variety of different things. And so that's how, again, past performance and future, forecasting, if I could tackle that, I know that I can figure out this role. But connecting with those people. And that's what I love. Again, I don't get any commission from LinkedIn. I promise you I don't. But my favorite feature by far in LinkedIn is when you go, if you're in the job market and you click on a company and it tells you how many of your contacts work for that company.
Yep.
And so that is something that, again, if you're not leveraging that and reaching out, not saying that they can just unfairly tip the scales in your favor, but at minimum, maybe there's some sort of referability that if they, co-sign on it, then it might find its way to the top part of the stack, or even give you some feedback on some of the things that you need to be aware of, company culture, negotiations, whatever the case is. But we all have that ability to connect. And so the thing that I love about, again, leveraging digital connections is that you don't have to artificially feed them. You can scroll, you can follow content, you can choose to turn the volume up or down. And so that is one of those things, kind of those pro tips that they give you, like on LinkedIn specifically, that as much original content that you can post, the algorithms are a little bit different versus just reposting and recycling what you've seen. Even if it's just adding your own take, a little verbiage on there about, how this resonated with you. So there's all these tools that are available. But honestly, I think the last time I did a big push on my LinkedIn network, I just searched keyword CPCU. And I really intentionally decided that I wanted to connect with, other folks that have that same common, that common interest, that common commitment to learning. And that is really the calling card, honest and truly, because I've yet to meet another CPCU who has really just been opposed to, lending a hand and being helpful where they can.
Oh, 100%. That's like, that's I want to say it's like almost ubiquitous. I mean, there's probably a situation out there where, someone who's a CPCU has been, insert your expletive name, to someone else and be like, no, like, screw off. Like, but no, the the vast majority of times, people are within the society are more than willing to help each other out. And if they can't, at least they can point you in the right direction, right? I have a couple of examples here. One is this show, man. Like, it's like this show isn't possible without us having a nice network of, like you said, Precious, like diversified people throughout different walks of life in the industry to kind of bring them in and keep things mixed up and interesting and kind of current, right? The second example is, as a broker, there are certain habits that you get into in terms of going to certain conferences and things like that. And the same old kind of, the same old, your competition's there. And then the same old kind of like, the brokers to the brokers, right? Like the wholesalers are there and kind of like the specialty, carriers and stuff like that, that might like direct writer, program writers and stuff like that. And so, but sometimes you get, it's like almost like it's a big pond, but it's still, you get small pond syndrome, right? Like you're not getting exposed to some of the other things. A perfect example is InsurTech percolating into that space, at least so that you're knowledgeable about what's happening, right? Blockchain technology, gigantic piece of it, where if you're not seeking it out yourself, you're probably not finding it at a lot of these kind of like broker-centric places unless there's a specific blockchain solution. But you got to remember, a lot of the blockchain solutions are disintermediation. They're looking to remove steps from the process. And so there's still a way to leverage that technology as a broker, but you got to know it. And you're not necessarily going to find it in a very kind of like, unilateral or a very one-dimensional group. You have to go to an extremely diversified group that's bringing in those InsurTech-y people, that's bringing in those, blockchain tech kind of people. Shout out to Paul Gagliotti. This past episode that we just cut was with him. And so when this goes live, definitely, if you haven't seen episode 5 yet, go back and check that out too, because we had a fantastic conversation with him about InsurTech. And he's right in that sweet spot because he's kind of like E&S wholesaler, program manager type person within the InsurTech space that's helping out brokers. So he is like the perfect embodiment of that point. What else? So there's got to be more, Heather. I'm sure there's, a half a dozen, but just pick one more so we can let people know.
I would say the connection that I have received through being a part of those interest group roadshows that are out there right now as well, because we have that group started really early on after COVID. Okay. And they decided that, hey, interest groups, we're not going to have the things that we would normally have in the world that we were living in. We're not going to have Leadership Summit. We are not going to have Into Risk. Of course, we all went into it thinking, oh, we're gonna be able to make it, and then decisions had to be made,
Yep.
And based upon the environment, and it was born out of a desire to just really connect people together, and it was also born out of a desire to, hey, there's a whole world out there of risk management and insurance professionals who are not CPCUs. How do they get a peek behind, just like this show, how do they get a peek behind this secret sauce or this thing that is the CPCU Society, which has all this mystique and, is just a certain percentage of insurance and risk management professionals? And how do you ever pique their interest about that if you don't invite them to things, So everybody stepped out and said, we're going to start running these. And so we gave them a peek behind the curtain. And then the show is like holistically evolved over time to be more of we're going to talk about all kinds of amazing insurance topics. And it's led me to places that I never thought I would be led. I mean, I'm running a panel of Israeli InsurTech leaders, and I'm going, I am on the phone with a bunch of Israeli InsurTech leaders right now. These people have started companies. Who am I to do this? And those are those relationships that you never know where they're going to take you if you don't step out and take that risk. And I think CPCU gives us a little bit of that moxie, that willingness to step out there and go, yeah, we're going to try that. It's going to be a little different. But we're going to get people excited about insurance, and we're going to help them to understand that what we do is so vital to society And there's this amazing group of people that you can get involved with if you just connect with us.
Yes. And for the record, those InsurTech CEOs that you're running the panel, they're lucky to have you doing that. Do not sell yourself short.
Absolutely.
You might not be cut from that cloth, but you are definitely you're working it. You're making those roadshows happen. So I love that. I absolutely love that. All right, Precious, what you got? I give you one more.
Well, when I was listening to Heather talk just now, I had a conversation with a colleague who's not a CPCU earlier in the afternoon, and his description of when he thinks about those of us that are CPCUs, are part of the society, and I think the word that he used was like, we're kind of like guardians of the knowledge, and he kind of just imagined us like all like standing around with like our our robes and the glowing orb that is PNC, and that we're just kind of.
This has become the Illuminati really quickly. I don't know.
I said, I did not know that level of mystique like existed. I'm like, wow, I had to stand up a little straighter. Like, hey, this is really something cool. But, again, that try it, and to your point, Matt, with reminding Heather that that you stand right there, like you said, with the full confidence, the full knowledge and understanding that we've been exposed to all these things, and so whereas I may not be deeply entrenched in that particular part of this ecosystem, I have enough knowledge to be able to follow a conversation and be able to, and I can choose to increase my understanding of that. Like my two hot topics that are like on my plate that I'm kind of digging into and looking to understand better are captives, so because I'm a broker, right? So in my world, the word captive just refers to, are you an independent agent or do you just sell for one carrier, right? Like that's how we use the word captive. And so the whole concept of captive in terms of like, a risk retention tool and that sort of thing, that right now is something that I'm still trying to like wrap my mind around and truly, understand. So between captives and how that's better leveraged, and that isn't something that's in my wheelhouse at all, and then also even researching and understanding a little bit more about fintech. So that's the financial tech hybrid. So fintech and insurtech are kind of like cousins in this endeavor, because just the same way that insurance and financial services have always gone hand in hand. So that just speaks back to that lifelong learning. So I have challenged myself, as I mentioned before, I cast a wider net to increase the CPCUs in my network, because being here in Dallas, I'm a friend of multiple chapters around the country. So I moonlight, I might pop in on something, especially now that it's virtual. Man, I hang out with P&W, so I'm always in the Pacific Northwest. Anytime Jersey does something, like there's certain ones, I kind of, that's my home away from home. But we have international members. There's so much more than even as I've moved around the country, there are certain ones that I haven't tapped into as much. So I've done that. But then I've also, knowing that I have an interest in fintech and an interest in captives, again, put out some feelers there. And I typically, when I do my networking, I start off by looking at how many other common connections we have. Because sometimes just by virtue of common connections, that vouches for you. I'm not some sort of stranger who's trying to spam the platform and sell you something as soon as you accept my connection. I come in peace. I mean no harm. I just want to learn and follow, content and what you're doing. And so the worst thing someone can do is not connect. And that's fine too. But being able to intentionally, I keep thinking of, and maybe because I'll do a shameless plug, so Amy Waninger has, her book, Network Beyond Bias. And so that's another litmus test that I would apply. If everyone in your network is within the same industry, employer, if you never come across anything that you disagree with, you probably need to expand a little bit. Or if you never come across anything that's new to you,
Yeah.
So, those are also things which is, I haven't exhausted that within the society yet. I don't think I've tapped into all the corners. So my next mission, so if you guys see me, kind of creeping in the corner, don't call me out, is I do want to sit in on, and hear from more interest groups than the ones that I'm currently involved in, even the ones that are outside of my purview. So, there's so much opportunity that we have this skeleton key to get into so many doors, you guys, that I'm constantly like, ooh, I don't even understand that conversation. Like, again, shout out to CLM, so I was told probably 2 or 3 years ago, I didn't realize that as a, risk management professional, that I could register with CLM as a fellow without charge. And so as a CLM fellow, when I go to their events and I get their content, and again, that's claims litigation management, if you're not familiar with CLM, which is also, they kind of fall under the same umbrella. So they're our cousins now. So we now have insurance cousins.
Yeah.
Meet the family, right? Get out there, make a friend. Like I said in the video, connect with someone new. So that's my challenge to myself is, I want to grow. I want to introduce myself and connect with, at least 10 new folks weekly to continue to just cast that net and continue to consume all of that's available to us.
Yeah, no, you raise a huge point. Again, within the diversity pantheon within the society, which is global, and also in terms of like professional development and leadership development, people like Amy Waniger and Abby Clow are in the society, have come from the insurance industry, but they've now kind of like taken that next step where they're not just kind of, helping people perfect the nuts and bolts of how you rate, a standard GL policy. They're also helping people develop professionally and just like as people, like as good humans, right? Like as nice people, which is absolutely fantastic. And I can't think of another organization where that is, permeated as much as it is within the society. And I'll give Heather the last shot, but before I do, the one example that I have that's kind of in that vein is the executive director and leadership council member from New Jersey, Rita Williams-Boger, is an absolutely amazing human being. Like, she's a beautiful human being. She's an incredible professional. Every single year she does an entrepreneurship boot camp for like kids in middle school. And they do like a Shark Tank presentation, like a pitch session at the end of the week. And I've participated in 2 of them now. And it is the most heartwarming experience I've ever had because I get to dress up a suit and like slick back the hair and like act all like tough, like I have millions of dollars to throw around, which is also fantastic. But these kids are like pitching you on these fantastic ideas, and they're negotiating with you, and you're like, well, I can't give you this much equity in my company because I have to retain ownership and stuff like that. It is a like heartwarming, inspiring activity. And I wouldn't have been given the opportunity, I don't think, to participate in something like that, or at least that specific type of opportunity, had I not known Rita and had she not known me in terms of, me being a professional and being able to act the part as someone who has a gigantic checkbook to bankroll startup companies. So fictitious startup companies, by the way. Again, we're not financial advisors. Don't follow our financial advice. So with that, I will give you the last at bat, Heather. You kicked us off with this idea with your interview of Heidi. Give me one last one that we can kind of close on as far as how your network has helped you out.
Wow. It's just the power of connection is what the CPCU Society is all about. And I know, like, at any moment, and I mean, I kind of go back to my college experience as well. I started teaching college in a completely virtual environment. And I sat there and I went, well, I've taught people virtually. I know what I'm doing. I can do this. Like, I used to teach people virtually all the time. I can roll with this like you wouldn't believe. Oh my word. I knew I had to like shake it up and bring in people just like I brought you in, Matt. Like they loved having you in my class last semester. I brought people from my CPCU network into my class to talk about real life experiences with that textbook material that I had to teach. And they all brought, every single one of them brought it to life. This semester, I was able to actually bring someone physically into my classroom to talk about financial planning, which I've always felt like was like the shaky spot for me when it came to my insurance knowledge and education space. And he brought it to life, and they absolutely loved that experience because they just weren't listening to me, geeking out about insurance all the time. Yeah. And I plan on doing that again next semester because I'm pulling that class over to that totally virtual format again, just because of my travel schedule and everything. I've got to do that. Yeah. And I'll do that again next semester. To me, that's the power of connection that you get with CPCU. And just like you said, Precious, expand that network. Go out and grab those, type in CPCU into LinkedIn and find people that you can meet and connect with. I can tell you from our shows right now, I've had people in my own organization reaching out to me wanting to just spend some time and talk about what they can do with their future because they're influenced. They've heard the message and they're like, this is something that I didn't even realize that I could be a part of and how big that it was. And you can find your niche, you can find your place to plug and serve and volunteer or just be a part of what the CPCU Society can bring you as far as your network is concerned. And Precious says it absolutely 100% the best way in that intro video. Your network is your net worth. Those people will feed into your life. It's not about the money piece of it. Those people will feed into your life in a way that will change your life and be able to help you to accelerate your ability to learn about a new subject or to be able to have a contact to reach out to whenever you need more information about something that you don't quite understand or need to be able to grab some knowledge about. And networks inside of your company are great, but imagine if you had that network that was just there all over the world, that has totally different perspectives than you because they're not in your bubble. They're not in your space that you're in all the time. And they don't hear the same talk all the time. They know different ways to approach things. And you can bring something to them and go, hey, I've got this kind of like problem that I'm trying to figure out in my head. You don't have to reveal company secrets to do that. You can talk about it in a way that just brings the idea to them and they can tell you, I've heard about something like that before. Here's what we tried to do. There are thousands and thousands of people like that in the CPCU Society. You just have to tap into that. And you have to be willing to step out of that bubble that you're in and make the effort to reach out and find your 10 new CPCs. And oh, by the way, that Shark Tank idea that you talked about, wheels in my head over here. I might be the Shark Tank for my collective for the spring semester. So
Heather's like, yoink, that's mine now.
You heard it here first, folks.
Well, with that, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for sticking with us and watching this episode. Definitely check out the other episodes that we have out there if you haven't seen them all yet. A final reminder to like and share and hit the notification bell and subscribe and comment. Participate in our trivia. And we want to give away some swag and have you all walking around repping the CPCU Society as a CPCU champion. So look, to that point, Heather, Precious, happy holidays. Hopefully you get all of the presents that you want and then some. And I don't know what I'm getting. I think I'm late. Precious gave me the heads up. She's like, look, supply chain, you got to order now and all this other stuff. I'm going to be giving people holiday presents like January 30th. It's happening. I mean, but it is what it is. I'll let them know. I'll draw a picture of it in crayon and let them know what they got.
The season of giving and thankfulness is all you're doing there, Matt. That's all you're doing.
It's going to be a who's Christmas with no presents and no decorations, just a lot of family.
Your presence is your present to give.
Oh my God, it's another one.
Zinger.
With that, that is the end of the episode. Happy holidays to all of you CPCU champions and everyone else who joins us on a weekly basis. And with that, we're out. Peace.
I think these videos are brilliant, and I'm sure you will like them too. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to click the notification bell.